Back here on CBS Sports HQ, the NFL trade deadline is in just 2 weeks, and we are putting Pete Prisco to work. Because not only is he on all the podcasts, on the shows, putting out his power rankings, but we're also making him put together his NFL trade block. We got a whole lot of Jags up there, which really hurts my heart. We also have D-Hop. And then perhaps one of the biggest names who could be a real difference maker if he does find a new home with a contender is, of course, Maxx Crosby. Back here with Pete Prisco and Kyle Long to talk about the top NFL trade candidates as that deadline is about 2 weeks away. Maxx Crosby earlier this week said, hey, I'm not here to be rebuild, I'm here to win. And that doesn't seem like the vibe in Vegas with this Raiders team. Everyone, of course, is thinking of Detroit because Aiden Hutchinson went down. You need somebody who can rush the passer, who is just as talented. So, Pete, is that what makes sense for you? Or are there other teams that come to mind for Maxx Crosby?
You know, it's funny, the Raider for life tattoo and all that stuff, I guess that goes out the window when your team stinks.
Yeah, you got to laser that off.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I can't blame him. I'd want to get out of there, too. And I'd want to go to Detroit. The question becomes, can they work out some kind of compensation? The Lions need to make that move, have to make that move. Think about it. If you give up a first-round pick and you're going to be that good, you get that guy to replace Aiden Hutchinson, you're probably going to be a deep playoff team, maybe even win it all. So you're going to be a late first-round pick. Give him a first-round pick. Give him a third-round pick. Go get Maxx Crosby. Do everything in your power to get him. The Lions, as they are constructed right now, cannot win a Super Bowl with the current pass rush group they have. They must make a move, and the move to make is to go get Maxx Crosby.
If they go get a tier 1 edge rusher, not named Maxx Crosby, it does help their team immensely, gives them even more of a chance. But you go get Maxx Crosby, the entire dynamic changes because this is a guy that can ruin your game plan, run or pass. As a physical mismatch as well as from an effort standpoint, Maxx Crosby will beat you. I think the physical stuff, he's so long, he works so hard, he's got such an unorthodox way of getting after the quarterback. And the guys in the NFC North, they haven't seen Maxx Crosby, so it'll be their first taste of him if he does go to Detroit. That would be one of the scariest things, seeing him at Ford Field rushing the passer.
And here's the other thing. You think about, okay, cap number's probably going to go up next year. Imagine if you can work it where you can keep both of them for the next 5 years, and you have Hutchinson on one side and Crosby on the other.
Are you kidding me?
Right? And they play their similar style. They're effort guys. They go after. They chase down plays on the backside.
They don't leave the field.
He never leaves the field. It's amazing. So I think the Lions have to make that move.
And also, it frees up Aaron Glenn and coverage so much more on the back end.
If I'm the general manager, I'm making that move. I'm making a deal. 1 of the 3, give me Crosby.
We just saw Devontae Adams go to the Jets. That's like an all-in move. Let's see an all-in move from the Detroit Lions team because we know how damn good they are. Let's get them to be great.
Think about this, Jacqueline. They went in the last week with their defensive ends, not one of them had a sack the entire season. Not one of them. And I think they had a grand total of maybe 3 in their career. You can't play that way.
Well, Sam Darnold went through his progressions twice on some plays. It was like, let's do it again, because there's nobody on him.
Which is absolutely insane. I'm still hung up on Aiden Hutchinson and Maxx Crosby potentially being on the same team.
That would be incredible.
Absolute nightmare for other teams.
Glad I'm out of the league.
Let's talk about Zadarius Smith. When you think of some contenders that could use his services, Kyle, who comes to mind for you?
Yeah, well, I think about a guy who's been in the NFC North for a while, Zadarius Smith. He could be a guy that ends up in Detroit. He's not the same guy as Maxx Crosby, but to the point I made earlier, it's an upgrade for what they have. He's experienced, and that kind of experience gives comfort on the back end to a coach like Aaron Glenn to be able to marry the coverage with the rush. He's a smart guy. I think it would be a good move.
And he plays hard. He's tough. He's physical. He fits with what they want. And they need to get, if you can't get Maxx Crosby, if you can't get Myles Garrett, I would make that call too. Then you look around, you say, okay, what's the next step down? Maybe you go get a Zadarius Smith. And he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, I really like him, but he's not those guys.
So even though he's not those guys, if Detroit does get him, does that make them a Super Bowl contender in your mind, or is that not enough?
They're already
a contender.
Or a winner, I should say, as you were saying earlier.
Not as much as if they made Maxx Crosby the guy.
Okay. Maxx Crosby they're the favorite. It's not even a question, in my opinion.
Wow. Favorite over everybody else?
With Maxx Crosby? Kidding me?
Okay.
Who else comes to mind for you? Chiefs?
Chiefs?
Yep.
Ravens?
Yeah.
Bills?
Bears?
No. We're not going that far down.
you know you had to get the Bears in there.
Next year.
So we have to talk about Budda Baker, their star safety there in Arizona. In the final year of his contract, Pete, where could you see him potentially landing?
Well, any team that's, right now that's hurting at the safety position. You look around, guys are going down. It's contender, go make a deal for him. Because you're going to have to trade. If you're going to give up an asset, you're going to have to pay for him. Because he's going to want a new contract. That's what he wants. The Cardinals, though, winning against the Chargers and looking at the division, they might change their thinking on this. The 49ers are breaking down. The Rams really have had a ton of injuries. They're at 3-4. They beat the 49ers a couple weeks ago. This might change. That game last night might change the way the Cardinals perceive this. So I'm not so sure he's going to end up being one of those guys that does get peddled.
Yeah, he's a staple on that team. I mean, he's been there for. I remember when I was playing, it was where's number 3? Is he in the box or is he at the top? So for a team like Arizona who can keep it tight in that division, I'm not sure he's the one you deal.
And the Jets have had problems and injuries on the back end of their defense, so that could be somebody they can make a play to go get.
It's crazy that all those injuries with the Niners, it really makes that division, I don't want to say wide open, but more so
doable.
Doable. That's a better way to put it. Let's talk about the Titans. They have been an absolute mess, of course, on offense. D-Hop is there. We know he's been playing through an injury, but Kyle, how much will that impact some of his trade value, knowing that he is kind of injured?
The intangibles for DeAndre Hopkins, his hands, his ability to read coverage, that's what makes him special. Obviously, at this point in his career, what do you like to say? He's got cement shoes on?
Yeah, he doesn't run very well.
He's got a little bit of cement shoes on. But you know what? I think with the right quarterback, with the right offensive system, he can complement what they have. In addition to that, he can help some of these younger receivers on certain teams. And obviously, there's a handful of these teams that could use a receiver right now.
Chiefs?
The Chiefs, I think it would be a no-brainer if you were to be able to add like a DeAndre Hopkins-style guy to that offense.
And the Steelers have been looking to add a wide receiver. Maybe they go get another guy and catch the moon balls.
Yeah, because you know what? 2 guys covering Pickens now.
Right. Because, no, not just that, because he's good on 50-50 balls. Yep. He's always been good on those. So I think there's options for Hopkins. The problem is you better have some, and the Steelers really don't have a burner on the other side. I think you need to have a little speed, which is why the Chiefs would make sense, because you have Worthy, he can fly, and you get a guy who's a reliable chain mover. I think that's what Hopkins is.
There's something about these roster moves. Guys suddenly get really healthy when they would come on the roster.
Devontae Adams. What happened to him?
Hamstring is
funny how that works.
What about Tampa now? Looking for a wide receiver.
Unfortunately, a ton of injuries that we saw in that game last night for the Bucs. Finally, we're going to talk about Cam Robinson. It hurts me to talk about Jags being on the trading block and being sold, Pete, but that's just the reality of the situation, and could clear up a lot of cap space for Jacksonville.
Yeah, they won't do it if they win this week.
Okay.
But if they lose to the Packers, and then I think they play the Vikings or the week, their schedule's brutal the next 4 weeks. I think then they can make a move. And here's why you can make that move. Cam Robinson had a concussion Sunday. Walker Little went in and played left tackle, and he was the best offensive lineman on the field, and it wasn't even close. He was great in the run game. He was good in pass protection. Now, the Patriots aren't great on their defensive line, but he was the best player on the field in terms of the offensive lineman. So why not get rid of Cam Robinson? You can pedal him around. Teams are looking for left tackles.
Yep. It's hard to find a lineman, especially, you complain about the offensive line every week. You say they're terrible. It's the worst you've ever seen, the offensive line. Right. Well, if you're one of these teams who's dealing with those kind of issues, go get Cam Robinson. It's an immediate upgrade to your football team. As you know, I think the offensive line is the most important position on the field.
Other than quarterback.
Other than quarterback. If you don't have an offensive line, if you don't have the Johnnies and Joes, it doesn't matter how good your X's and O's are, you will get your
I agree with you 100%. Build it from in front of that quarterback. Take care of that.
And sticking with the Jags really quickly, Christian Kirk, someone you think could be on the trading block?
Another one of those Chiefs targets. Another one of these receivers that can go and plug into another place and be more highly appreciated than he is in Jacksonville.
He's got a big number next year, and so you'd have to work with that a little bit. But here's the other thing. Parker Washington, who returned a punt last week, he can slide in there and be their slot. So if you're out of it, why not go with a younger guy and get rid of the expensive guy? Makes sense.
Yeah. Pete, Kyle, we certainly appreciate it. Talking about NFL trade candidates as that trade deadline is about 2 weeks away. Make sure you stick with us here on CBS Sports HQ all season long. We got you covered when it comes to breaking news, highlights, scores, all the needs to know information throughout football season. Stay locked in right here to HQ.